Is it safe to come out of hiding? Is it safe to talk about Starfield? Okay, we're gonna give it a shot. We'll see how it goes. Welcome everybody. Today we're talking about Starfield. 5 months, yes, time flies by. 5 months since its release. Starfield is a game that had a lot of anticipation behind it, a lot of excitement behind it. It came out for many, it delivered. For a lot of people, it did not deliver at all. Hence why, in the months after its launch, a lot of critiques of Bethesda game studios and their development style and their approach to Starfield was absolutely slammed online. I made critique pieces of my own, like how to fix Bethesda and how Skyrim ruined Bethesda. And today, away from all the zeitgeist, away from all the excitement, away from all of the anger, a lot of people have shifted their gaze elsewhere, away from Starfield and its problems. And now I want to take a look at things. How have the updates been going? What's the player count at? How's the future of Starfield looking? How does it compare to other BGS games by this point in time in its lifespan? And I think that last point is perhaps the most illuminating of them all. So we're gonna get into all of that today. But first, a quick word from today's sponsor. The following video is sponsored by MrMattyPlays. Dungeon Fighter Online has been around for nearly a decade, yet it's as fun and vibrant as ever thanks to its blend of action, depth, and evolution, which is especially apparent in the newest season, Son. Best of all, this new season is a perfect time for new users to hop in or old fans to make their grand return. I mean, it is free to play after all, so give it a shot, right? In this newest season, a new area called Son, where fish fly in the sky and mythical creatures roam the lands, is open for you to explore. This includes places like Clear Mist, the center of the White Ocean where the god of mist is worshipped, to the Inventor District where inventors gather from all around to study new technologies. It's also introducing new dungeons, a visual design renewal of the male Slayer character, and a bunch of brand new events. But the base game of Dungeon Fighter Online is so fun onto its own. You have plenty of customization options. There's plenty of characters to use with more than 60 class advancements. And for you new players out there who are interested, they have a DFO coupon event going on right now. Welcome to DFO Gift is the coupon code. You sign up, you get some nice looking cosmetics. You also get a bunch of really useful consumables. So what are you waiting for? Play Dungeon Fighter Online for free now by installing the game via my link in the description down below. Thank you again to MrMattyPlays for sponsoring today's video. All right, first things first, I want to take a look at the patches that have come out for Starfield, the last two. One, February 20th, another at the end of January, I believe it was January 26th. Recently, it just got FSR 3 support. It also got Intel Xe super sampling support for PC. These are things that people have been waiting on for a while here to help increase the frame rate, which was a problem for Starfield at launch on PC. Otherwise, a lot of changes here are stability focused. There's a mentioning here of form IDs being freed when loading saves. Some people were losing access to their save files because of this. So they fixed things like that. Otherwise, more noteworthy changes that arrived ahead of this were changes like an improved widescreen support system. They have support for stars being displayed against the sun disk geometry, which sounds like a lot of lip service, but they've improved things like lighting, shadows, characters' eyes, skin. So the game does look better visually, which I didn't expect because I did feel Starfield looked good enough, especially for a Bethesda Game Studios game where I usually don't critique their graphics too much because it's usually not about that with them. But yeah, they improved the visuals of it. What you will notice here is what's missing is content. Stuff that really pulls people back into the thick of things. New features, new mechanics. And Bethesda recently committed to a new update every 6 weeks or so. And they even reiterated this at the top of one of their blog posts for the January update for Starfield. And so I predicted that it's going to take a while for them to get rolling. And specifically, the people who were really excited for things like survival mode, which Bethesda suggested are new ways of traveling in Starfield, that you may want to pump the brakes on that because they're probably going to release those later, because everything I saw from after Starfield's release just suggested to me that things are very slow moving right now at Bethesda Game Studios. I think they're afraid to break Starfield in any single way, and so the addition of new things here is scarce. One thing that was picked up when digging through SteamDB is that it looks like there will be a closed testing for Creation Kit 2 for verified creators. And right now, the modding scene for Starfield is in an alright place. You're getting cool ones like this where Star Wars aliens have finally been added to Starfield. I'm just waiting for that gigantic Star Wars overhaul mod pack on Nexus to hit one of these days, and that will definitely pull me back into Starfield. But otherwise, the modding scene hasn't been massively explosive yet because the kit has yet to arrive. I think for what is available right now without that kit, it is pretty good. But I think once the kit arrives is when we're going to see more meaningful expansions of the systems and the mechanics that we know about in Starfield, the flying, the shooting, the looting, the crafting, and then exploring more characters, more quests, things to fill out this vast universe. And unfortunately, much of the story here is that even 5 months later, not a lot has been added to Starfield to really pull you back in. I have to call it as it is. Starfield is still a game finding its way into headlines that I don't know if it belongs in. For example, from IGN here, Helldivers 2 responds to server issues as it passes all-time Steam concurrence of Destiny 2 and Starfield. Starfield getting pulled into the Helldivers 2 success, as they mention here at the bottom of the article that they don't know the player numbers for PS5, but SteamDB has revealed that Helldivers 2 has reached an all-time concurrent of 333,827 players, which puts it 28th all-time, ahead of Starfield, PUBG, as well as Counter-Strike, Destiny 2, and Naraka Blade Point. Other headlines have included things like Starfield losing 95% of its Steam player base in less than 6 months. Now, as you may remember from my Starfield coverage, I was not hitting the panic button initially on Starfield's player count, but I am ready to start raising some concerns now about how things are going. And again, this is the main focal point of the video that I'm going to expand a lot of my thoughts on here. So if you look at Starfield's current Steam player count, which does not include Xbox, where it was a top game and still is a top game, but when you look at Steam's player count for Starfield, it paints a pretty sad picture right now. As you'll see, there's currently 6,000 players, give or take, playing Starfield, an all-time peak of 330,000. And yes, there is absolutely a reason for this. It's a single-player game. There's a lot of stuff coming out. People have moved on in the last 5 months. That is a big part of it all. But you do have to look at other BGS games and notice the very wide margin now. At one point, it was close, which is why I wasn't hitting the alarm bell. But then you look at Fallout 4, without a next-gen update, by the way, coming in at 15,000 players. And that's only going to skyrocket, I believe, when the Fallout TV show hits. Then you look at Skyrim Special Edition, 21,000 players right now. And I was thinking to myself, why have these games managed to sustain where Starfield couldn't? Of course, mods are a big part of the play here. But then I did a little bit of deep digging just on Steam player counts. I was looking at Fallout 4 and Skyrim and what their respective player counts were around 5 months after their launch. Fallout 4 was still sitting at around 50,000 players per day. And I was thinking, that's really high. That had a lot of carryover. That would have put it sometime in April. And I was thinking, okay, when did the DLC start for Fallout 4? And so, upon a little bit of additional research here, you'll see that Automaton had hit March 22nd, the following year of Fallout 4's release, with Wasteland Workshop in April, and then Far Harbor, which is one of the best DLCs I think Bethesda's ever done, arriving May, followed by Contraptions, Vault Tech, and then Nuka World. Fallout 4 managed to retain its player base because it gave you month after months of content. And I know a lot of it was Workshop DLC, which is something that I remember in the thick of covering this while I was in college. I was quite displeased that we only just got, I was feeling a little greedy, just got Far Harbor and Nuka World. But when you look at it, this was why Fallout 4 was retaining its player base. It came out and had a very similar post-launch reaction to Starfield. Bethesda's lost their way. What happened to the role-playing? This is just a looter shooter. But the people were still showing up. And I think if history can be kind to Fallout 4, I do think it can still be kind to Starfield. But they definitely need to get the act together in the terms of adding new content. Because you look at Fallout 4's situation, and I know the development environment has drastically changed, but you look at that versus what's been added to Starfield, and it is a wildly different story. How about we look at Skyrim? Skyrim falls in a similar basket to Starfield, but the difference with Skyrim is this was a game that came out in 2011 when Bethesda was still around 100 or so person team. It was a completely different development environment, and so Dawn Guard, as you see, releasing a little bit over half a year later in June, followed by 3 months later Hearthfire, and another 3 months later Dragonborn. You got less DLC, but at least in two of those with Dawn Guard and Dragonborn, massive pieces of content. Now, I'm going to try to be fair and not draw too many connections to Starfield and Skyrim, strictly because I feel Skyrim is a generational, once-in-a-lifetime style experience where it just changed how games were made for years and years and still has an impact to this day. It's an all-time classic for the modern age. And so It's tough to sometimes draw those comparisons because it's going to have more staying power than probably any other Bethesda Game Studios game. I wouldn't be surprised if Skyrim still surpasses Elder Scrolls 6. But what you'll notice here is there's a massive difference in the amount of content being released. Starfield is doing so in free updates, and we still have a lot to look forward to. I mentioned earlier, there were the new gameplay mechanics like a potential survival mode. There were new ways to traverse. They were suggesting a lot of things were on the table that they're going to be bringing to the game this year. And I do anticipate in hopefully the next 2 months, at least something new gameplay-wise has been added to Starfield. But no doubt when you size up the success levels of all these games on Steam and when content was coming out, Starfield is definitely lagging behind. And you'd think the situation would be a little bit different. Yes, the game is positively massive. Yes, in the post-launch of Starfield, which they've committed to for many years, I imagine some of the team has shifted over to Elder Scrolls 6. I also understand that this game launched pretty close to the holidays. It was in a long-winded development cycle. It's possible there was a big vacation after this, and things had to get started up once more. They had to take in feedback, and they realized there was a lot more they had to fix. And so I think a lot of that is going to start getting funneled into a big expansion. You see, we are in that different day and age in development where you can have a Cyberpunk 2077, a bunch of free updates, they all fix a lot of small problems of the game, and then you get a Phantom Liberty that is the big swing in the right direction. Now, it depends on how Starfield plans to handle itself. Since Bethesda seemingly is committed to years of support, I anticipate that Shattered Space will be one of multiple expansions to come to the game. And we'll see how Starfield continues to evolve over time, but I continue to approach it as a live service game, and as a live product, it's not doing enough at this moment in time. Again, I think Fallout 4 being the most telling part of the tale here with how much content was ready to go versus where Starfield is at. So we'll see as things develop with the 6 or so week intermittent update environment goes and what Starfield gets added to it, but I'll be keeping my eye on it. Naturally, I'll be covering it, but I thought this was a good time to sort of settle down, take a look at where things are. And yeah, the updates are a bit lacking. The player base is a bit lacking. And I'm curious what Bethesda is going to do to pull people back in, because I am still of the belief, while many people think this is a negative coded video, I'm still of the belief that Starfield will be a game that history is very kind to. I think people will appreciate the vision. I think people will appreciate the New Game Plus approach. And I think if Bethesda hangs with it, it'll be worth it. But we'll see what they do with it. It could also just go up in flames and they ditch it at some point, but I doubt it. But we'll see anyways. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Starfield 5 months later. I'm looking forward to hearing your thoughts down below, so please do fire away. With that, take excellent care of yourselves, and I will see you in the next video. Stay sexy, stay active. I love you all. Peace.